They pronounced me dead at 3:42 a.m. I know the exact time because I heard the doctor say it. I heard the flat beep of the machine stretch into a single, endless scream. I heard the nurse whisper, "I'm so sorry." I felt the sheet pulled over my face, and I wanted to scream, but my body didn't move. I wasn't dead. I was trapped, still breathing, still thinking, still listening. They wheeled me into the morgue while my mind was wide awake. I felt the cold metal table beneath my back. I heard a man humming as he prepared my body like I was already gone. And then, I heard my husband laugh. Not cry. Not pray. Laugh. "She's finally out of the way," he said. "Now we can start our real life." That was when I realized something far worse than death had happened. Because while I lay there, declared dead, my husband's mistress was putting on my wedding dress. My mother-in-law was plotting to sell one of my babies. And they had already decided the exact day they would legally kill me. All while I listened. Helpless. Silent. Very much alive. And the worst part? They had no idea that I heard everything. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. I have missed you all. Missed all the experiences we've had together. It's been a rough ride as we're currently battling some technical issues, but trust me, we're getting everything back and running. So stick around. I need your support on YouTube now more than ever. Thank you specially for sticking around to this very moment. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now, back to the story. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. If you were declared dead, but could hear the people you loved planning your erasure, would you forgive them? Or would you make them pay? Drop your answer in the comments, before the machines, before the blood, before the silence. I thought I had a marriage. Not a perfect one, but a real one. I met Ethan Rowe 5 years earlier in the most ordinary way possible, at a charity fundraiser I volunteered at after work. He was charming in a polished, effortless way. The kind of man who knew how to make people feel chosen just by looking at them. He told me I was different. That I wasn't impressed by money or status. That I made him feel grounded. I believed him. I was a pediatric nurse then, working long shifts, exhausted but fulfilled. I loved caring for people who couldn't protect themselves. Ethan said that was what made me special. What I didn't realize was that men like Ethan don't fall in love with kindness. They borrow it. The warning signs were small at first. Easy to excuse. He hated hospitals. He hated my night shifts. He hated when my attention wasn't fully on him. And then there was his mother, Judith Rowe. From the moment we met, she looked at me like I was something Ethan had picked up accidentally and forgotten to throw away. She never raised her voice. Never insulted me directly. She did worse. She erased me. At family dinners, she spoke around me. Asked Ethan about his work, his future, his plans. I was invisible unless something went wrong. "She's very emotional," Judith once said to Ethan while I was sitting right there. "Pregnancy will only make that worse." I was 3 months pregnant. Ethan didn't defend me. He laughed. "That's just how mom is," he told me later. "Don't take it personally." I started taking everything personally. Especially when Lydia entered the picture. Lydia worked as Ethan's executive assistant. She was beautiful in a sharp, deliberate way. always perfectly dressed, always lingering just a little too long. She called Ethan in a tone that made my skin crawl. I asked him once, carefully, gently, if something was going on. He looked offended. "You're imagining things," he said. "You've been emotional since the pregnancy." That word again. Emotional. So I swallowed my doubts, focused on my baby, on building the nursery, on hoping motherhood would soften him. Judith took over everything. The baby name discussions, the doctor appointments, the birth plan. She insisted on being in the delivery room. "I need to make sure everything is done properly," she said. When I told her I wanted it to be just Ethan and me, her smile hardened. "Don't be selfish," she replied. "This baby belongs to the family." I should have understood then. To Judith, I was temporary. The baby was not. By my 8th month, Ethan barely touched me, barely spoke to me unless it was about logistics. When I went into labor early, pain ripping through me like fire, he sighed as if I'd ruined his schedule. At the hospital, while I screamed and begged and bled, he stood in the corner, on his phone, detached. And when the doctor shouted that I was crashing, Ethan didn't reach for my hand. He asked about the baby. That was the moment my old life ended, even before they declared me dead. Let me ask you something. Have you ever ignored your instincts because the people around you told you that you were the problem? Drop a comment. I read every single one. They say trauma hits like lightning. Sudden, violent, unforgettable. But mine came like a slow drowning. I didn't realize I was dying at first. I just knew something was wrong. The pain shifted from sharp, rhythmic contractions into something deeper, heavier. Like my body was flooding from the inside. My legs felt warm. Too warm. My vision started to blur, edges darkening like someone was slowly dimming the world. "I feel dizzy," I whispered. No one answered. Then the nurse looked down. Her eyes widened. She froze for half a second, just long enough for terror to register, and then she slammed the red button on the wall. Everything exploded. Doctors rushed in. Machines screamed. Hands pressed hard against my stomach. Blood pressure dropping. "Get 2 units ready. She's hemorrhaging." I tried to ask what was happening, but my tongue felt thick, heavy. My mouth wouldn't form words. I turned my head, searching the room for Ethan. He was still in the corner, still on his phone. Someone shouted his name. "Sir, we need you to step back." He didn't argue, didn't fight. He stepped aside easily, like a man relieved to be removed from responsibility. The ceiling lights blurred into white streaks. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. And then everything went quiet. Too quiet. The monitor let out one long, endless tone. The kind you hear on TV shows. The kind that means someone is gone. I heard the doctor swear under his breath. I felt hands stop moving. And then, "She's gone," someone said softly. Time of death, 3:42 a.m. They covered my face. That should have been the end. But it wasn't. Because the darkness didn't swallow me. I was still there. Still thinking. Still hearing. I felt myself being lifted. The room changed, different echoes, colder air. The squeak of wheels beneath me. Someone hummed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to move. But my body was locked, sealed shut like a coffin I was buried inside while alive. That's when I heard Ethan's voice again. Not crying. Not breaking. Just calm. "Is the baby okay?" That question carved itself into my soul. Not am I okay? Not can you save her? Just, is the baby okay? Someone answered yes. And Ethan exhaled in relief. That was the moment I understood. My life had already been replaced. If you heard your spouse ask that question instead of begging for your life, would you ever forgive them? Tell me in the comments. Death, I learned, is not silence. It's listening when no one knows you can hear. They wheeled me into a colder room. Stainless steel. Chemical smells. The kind of place people don't come back from. I felt the table beneath me hard, unforgiving. Something metallic brushed my wrist. A tag. They were tagging me. I tried to scream. Nothing. I tried to cry. Nothing. My mind was awake, screaming inside a body that refused to obey. Footsteps echoed. Then voices. Low. Careful. Make sure everything is clean, a man said. His voice was calm, too calm for a room with a dead woman in it. Another voice responded. Female. Older. You don't need to worry. The paperwork will say complications during childbirth. I knew that voice. Judith. My mother-in-law stood over my body while I lay there, labeled and discarded like medical waste. What about the organs? The man asked. Judith paused. The usual. The heart and kidneys will be redirected. Redirected. As if my body were a shipment. As if I were inventory. My mind reeled. She continued, voice sharp with authority. The recipient is already prepped. Timing is critical. We can't afford delays. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to die, this time for real. So this was it. I hadn't just died in childbirth. I'd been useful in death. A donor without consent. A vessel to be emptied. What about the husband? The man asked. Judith scoffed. Ethan won't interfere. He's grieving in his own way. Grieving. That word tasted like poison. I heard footsteps retreat. Papers shuffled. A door closed. Then silence. Minutes passed or hours. Time didn't exist in that room. And then something unexpected happened. A new presence entered. Someone stood very close to me. I felt warmth. A hand brushed mine. Soft. Hesitant. A man whispered, barely audible. She's still warm. My heart screamed. She's not gone, he murmured. I swear, there's still color in her lips. I recognized him. Dr. Cole Mercer. The anesthesiologist. He'd been kind during my checkups. Always explained things slowly. Looked me in the eyes when he spoke. No, another voice snapped. The chart says time of death confirmed. Cole didn't move. I want to check again. You're wasting time. I don't care. There was tension thick, dangerous. Cole leaned closer. Then, pain. Sharp. Sudden. Something pierced my skin. And my body reacted. I gasped. Air exploded into my lungs like fire. My eyes flew open. Someone shouted. What the hell? Chaos erupted. I heard equipment crash. Alarm scream. She's alive. Cole yelled. She's alive. Hands grabbed me, this time with urgency, not indifference. I was dragged back from the edge of nothingness. As consciousness slammed into me, one terrifying truth burned brighter than the rest. If Dr. Cole hadn't questioned it, if he hadn't delayed them, I would have been carved apart while still breathing. And Judith Rowe would have signed the papers herself. If you woke up knowing your own family tried to profit from your death, what would you do next? Comment below. I want to know, when I woke up again, the lights were dimmer. The room was smaller. Hidden. No windows. No heart monitor screaming my existence to the world. And there was a man standing guard by the door. Not hospital security. Real security. Black suit. Earpiece. Gun imprint beneath his jacket. My throat tightened. I tried to sit up. Pain tore through me like broken glass. "Don't move," a calm voice said. Dr. Cole stepped into view, his face pale, eyes sharp with fear and resolve. "You've been officially declared dead." That was not an accident. Dead. The word echoed. "They tried to harvest me," I whispered. He nodded. "Yes." My chest shook as tears slid sideways into my hair. "And my baby?" I asked. He hesitated. That pause almost killed me. "Please," I begged. "Tell me the truth." He took a breath. "Your baby is alive." Relief flooded me so hard I sobbed. But he continued, voice tightening, "Your baby was never listed as yours." The room spun. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said slowly, "someone altered the records. The child was registered under a different name. Different mother." Cold spread through my veins. "They told your husband the baby didn't survive." I screamed. It ripped out of me raw, animal, unstoppable. "They took my child. They didn't just try to kill me. They erased me." "Who?" I gasped. Dr. Cole looked at the guard. The guard nodded once. "Your mother-in-law," Cole said. "And your husband signed the authorization." Something inside me broke clean in half. Ethan. The man who cried at my bedside. The man who said, "We'll get through this together." He signed my baby away. "For what?" I whispered. "For leverage," Cole said. "For money. For loyalty." The guard finally spoke. "You married into the wrong family. The other side of the empire." They moved me that night. No ambulance. No lights. A black SUV with bulletproof windows. I was wrapped in blankets, barely conscious, drifting between pain and rage. We drove for hours. When we stopped, I smelled salt. The ocean. I was carried into a private compound carved into the cliffs, guards everywhere, cameras rotating silently. This wasn't a hospital. This was a fortress. They took me to a bedroom bigger than my old apartment. Marble floors. Dark wood walls. A view of the sea. A woman entered. Elegant. Calm. Powerful. She studied me like an investment. "My name is Marisol Vale," she said. "And your life was stolen because of who you really are." I frowned. "I don't understand." She smiled faintly. "You will." She handed me a tablet. On the screen. Documents. Birth records. Financial trusts. A name I had never seen before, but felt in my bones. "Isabella Vale." "That's you," Marisol said. "Or rather, who you were meant to be." My hands trembled. "Your real father was not a dock worker, as they told you," she continued. "He was the head of the Vale Syndicate." Syndicate. The word carried weight. Fear. Power. "He was assassinated when you were 3, she said. "Your mother vanished with you to protect the bloodline." I swallowed hard. "And now?" "Now," Marisol said quietly, "your husband's family crossed a line they didn't know existed." I stared at her. "What line?" She leaned closer. "They stole a Vale heir." Silence swallowed the room. "My baby," I whispered. Marisol nodded. "Is being raised as collateral." My hands curled into fists. "And Ethan?" Her eyes hardened. He sold your child to settle a debt with people far worse than him. Something cold and precise settled inside me. Not grief. Focus. They think I'm dead, I said slowly. Marisol smiled for the first time. Yes. And they think my baby belongs to them. Yes. I looked out at the dark ocean, waves crashing like war drums. Then let them believe it, I said. For now. Marisol's smile turned sharp. That's exactly what your father would have said. If you discovered your child was stolen to pay off a mafia debt, would you run? Or would you burn the empire that took them? Comment below. They told the world I was dead. And for the first time in my life, death felt like freedom. The name Samantha Mitchell was buried with an empty coffin and fake ashes, mourned by people who never loved her, erased by those who feared what she could become if she lived. But Isabella Vale. She woke up. And Isabella did not cry. The 40 days of rebirth. The compound became my world. No nurses whispering pity. No machines counting my breaths. No husband pretending to care. Only silence. Discipline. Truth. Every morning at 5 a.m., pain woke me before the sun did. My body was weak, scarred, stitched, broken from childbirth and neglect. I couldn't walk more than a few steps without shaking. My hands trembled. My legs buckled. And yet, they did not go easy on me. Pain is a memory, Marisol told me the first morning as 2 women helped me stand. Power is a decision. I fell that day. Hard. Hit the floor so fast my vision exploded in white sparks. No one rushed to pick me up. Again, Marisol said. I clenched my teeth and pushed. Again. And again. And again. By day 7, I could walk. By day 14, I could fight. Training the air. They trained me like they trained soldiers. Like they trained rulers. Combat first, not flashy, not cinematic. Brutal. Efficient. Close-range survival. How to break fingers without thinking. How to use someone's weight against them. How to escape holds meant to kill. You won't always have guards, my instructor said. And you won't always have time. They trained my mind next. Financial systems. Shell corporations. Money laundering structures disguised as charities. How legal crime is more dangerous than illegal crime. Your husband didn't steal from you emotionally, Marisol said one night, sliding documents across the table. He stole from you financially long before he touched another woman. I read everything. Every withdrawal. Every forged signature. Every debt he owed. Including the one that cost me my child. The truth about my baby. They showed me the footage on day 23. I wasn't ready. But they showed me anyway. A nursery. Soft lighting. Expensive toys. A woman holding my daughter. Jennifer. Wearing white. Rocking her like she belonged to her. I'm mommy, she whispered to my baby. Don't worry. I'll take good care of you. I broke something that day. Not inside. In the room. The glass table shattered under my fist. Blood ran down my knuckles. But I didn't scream. I memorized her face. The rules of revenge. Marisol made one thing clear. You don't rush vengeance, she said. You design it. I wanted blood. She wanted precision. You destroy them slowly, she continued. So slowly they beg for the end. I learned the rules. Never strike first emotionally. Take their power before their pride. Let them expose themselves. Make the truth undeniable. Leave them alive long enough to understand. I agreed to everyone. The first move. Andrew thought he was winning. Insurance money delayed, but coming. A grieving widower image perfectly curated. A new life with Jennifer slowly introduced to the public. What he didn't know. Every account he touched was now monitored. Every call recorded. Every step tracked. Because Vale Syndicate doesn't knock. It watches. And waits. And on day 40, I stood on my feet without help. Marisol placed a phone in my hand. One call, she said. Choose carefully. I dialed a number I hadn't memorized, but never forgot. Andrew answered on the third ring. Hello. I smiled. Did you miss me? Silence. Then, a sound I will remember forever. Fear. What kind of sick joke is this? He whispered. I was in a coma for 29 days, I said calmly. And you talked a lot. His breathing turned ragged. You're dead, he said. You're dead. So was your future, I replied. Until you touched my child. I hung up. And the hunt officially began. Andrew just realized the woman he buried is alive. Jennifer still thinks she won. And Margaret believes no one can touch her. They're wrong. Very wrong. Andrew, Jennifer, and Margaret thought they were untouchable. They thought I was dead. Gone. Forgotten. They were wrong. I wasn't just awake. I was awake with a plan. Setting the stage. Day 41. I returned to the city under a new identity. Isabella Vale. A business magnate, a socialite, a philanthropist with a reputation that could open doors and burn bridges simultaneously. My first step wasn't confrontation. It was infiltration. Jennifer had moved into my house. She wore my clothes. She fed my baby. She thought she was untouchable. I didn't confront her. I let her think I was gone. Instead, I hired private investigators to map every move she made, every word she spoke, every lie she told. By day 45, I knew their every secret. The psychological edge. I started planting subtle reminders. A bracelet on Jennifer's desk, one I had worn before the coma. A lullaby that only my daughters recognized. A perfume identical to the one I used before. She noticed. She freaked. But she didn't know why. Margaret called a family meeting. Andrew was rattled. I watched from a distance, anonymous, untouchable. I recorded everything. Every lie. Every scheme. Every greedy, wicked word. The call to action. By day 50, I was ready. A private dinner invitation, addressed to Andrew and Margaret. The location? My house. But they didn't know who was hosting. They came, thinking it was Jennifer. Thinking they controlled everything. And they were right, in one way. They didn't know I was the host. The first confession. Over champagne, I started subtly. Do you ever worry about mistakes? I asked, voice light. Andrew froze. Margaret sipped her drink, suspicious. Oh, mistakes happen, Margaret said smoothly. Yes, but some mistakes, I leaned closer, can cost you everything. I let silence stretch. Long enough for their own guilt to fester. Long enough for paranoia to creep in. Then I dropped the first bomb. You remember the baby? I asked casually. Jennifer's face paled. Margaret's hand shook slightly as she reached for her glass. Andrew's throat tightened. The second baby, I said softly. The one you were planning to sell. Margaret blurted, It's not. We didn't. Andrew tried to interrupt, but I raised a hand. Don't. And then, slowly, like they were confessing to themselves, they began to admit everything. I let them. I recorded it all. The hunters become the hunted. By day 60, I had everything I needed. Insurance fraud, attempted child trafficking, conspiracy to murder. I delivered all the evidence to law enforcement anonymously. And then, I walked in. Andrew's jaw dropped. Jennifer screamed. Margaret's knees buckled. I was alive. And I held my daughters. The turning point. The authorities arrested them. Court cases began. And every time they tried to lie, my recordings, my proof, my meticulous planning destroyed them. I didn't just win. I engineered their complete collapse. By the end of the trials, Andrew lost all parental rights. Jennifer was convicted for conspiracy. Margaret, bankrupt, humiliated, powerless. I wasn't just a survivor. I wasn't just a mother. I was a queen of strategy and vengeance. The storm was over. The villains were vanquished. And yet, victory wasn't just about punishment. It was about building a future that no one could touch. Reclaiming my life. I started by reclaiming my home. Every room, every memory, every corner that had once been stolen by Jennifer was restored. But it wasn't just about things, it was about energy. I infused the house with love, laughter, and the promise of safety for my daughters. Hope and Grace were finally with me full-time. I held them every night, whispered stories, taught them lullabies that no one else could know. I wasn't just a mother, I was a guardian. Securing our future. With the insurance money and my own savings, I set up a trust fund for my daughter's education, a security network for our protection, charity programs for mothers and children trapped in abuse. Every penny had a purpose. Every decision was deliberate. No one could ever steal from us again. A public statement. Months later, I decided it was time to reveal the truth publicly. Not for revenge. Not for fame. But so the world could see that justice, even when delayed, always arrives. I wrote a memoir detailing every moment, from the coma to the betrayal to the final triumph. The story went viral. People were shocked. People were inspired. I became a symbol. A reminder that even when you are at your lowest point, your voice is never truly gone. Rebuilding trust. Not everyone believed me at first. Some called it exaggeration. Some said no one could survive such horror. But I had proof. Hidden cameras, recordings, legal documents, testimony from medical staff. I rebuilt relationships with my parents, my extended family, and old friends. I even started connecting with other survivors, women who had been silenced, betrayed, or left for dead. I created a network of support, teaching them how to document abuse, how to protect themselves legally, how to come back stronger than before. Raising hope and grace. The hardest part was parenting two babies who had never truly known me. Hope, the bold one, always curious, always fearless. Grace, the quiet thinker, wise beyond her months. I taught them resilience. I taught them strength. I taught them that love is a weapon against evil. Every bedtime, I whispered to them, "Your mother fought for you when you were just a heartbeat. You will always be protected." And in their eyes, I saw the reflection of my own unbreakable spirit. Creating a new empire. Beyond the house and the trust fund, I realized my mission was larger. I started an organization for mothers in coma recovery situations. I launched initiatives for children born into dangerous family situations. I made legal connections to ensure no one could ever try to erase a mother's rights again. The woman who had once been powerless was now untouchable. The final message to my enemies. I didn't just punish Andrew, Margaret, and Jennifer. I completely dismantled their legacy of cruelty. Andrew, bankrupt, humbled, stripped of parental rights. Margaret, powerless, public shame intact. Jennifer, convicted, forced to face the loss she had ignored. They had underestimated me. They had thought a coma silenced me. But I came back. Stronger. Smarter. Relentless. And as I watched them pay the price, I knew. Justice isn't instant, but it always finds the patient, cunning, and determined. A new beginning. Months later, I was finally free to live my life fully. Hope and grace by my side. Our home restored and safe. A legacy of strength, courage, and justice built for the future. I traveled, I spoke, I inspired. But most importantly, I loved my daughters fiercely, unconditionally, without fear. No one would ever steal my family again. No one would ever silence me again. I had risen from betrayal, from attempted death, from the abyss, and emerged victorious. And as I tucked my babies into bed, watching them sleep, I whispered one last truth to the universe. You tried to bury me, but you forgot I am a mother. And mothers always rise. Even after the courtroom victory, the aftermath wasn't over. The story that everyone saw, the coma, the twins, the arrests, was only the tip of the iceberg. There were secrets buried deeper, truths that even Andrew, Margaret, and Jennifer didn't want anyone to uncover. Discovering hidden truths. Once I regained control of my home and life, I began to dig into the financial and personal lives of those who tried to destroy me. What I found shocked me. Andrew had been involved in multiple shell companies, laundering money through fake charities. Margaret had a hidden art collection worth millions, all bought with insurance fraud and blackmail payments. Jennifer had falsified dozens of documents at work to secure power and wealth she didn't deserve. Every revelation made it clearer why they were willing to risk murder and baby trafficking. They were desperate to protect their corrupt empire. A network of allies. I wasn't alone in this. Nurses who had cared for me secretly supported me. Lawyers who specialized in family and corporate law offered guidance. Private investigators helped track every shady move. Together, we uncovered the full extent of their deceit, enough to ensure their power could never recover. I realized something profound. The more they underestimated me, the easier it was to dismantle them. Rebuilding trust with my parents. Even as I fought to secure my daughter's future, I focused on healing family bonds. My parents had been kept in the dark, believing I was dead. Now, with every revelation, I involved them. Discussing strategies to protect the twins. Planning for legal action against anyone trying to interfere. Sharing with them the story of survival, betrayal, and victory. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about restoring family. Learning from the past. Every twist and betrayal taught me something vital. Trust is precious, but must be earned. Preparation saves lives. My hidden cameras and wills were critical. Composure in chaos is power. Even in a coma, my mind never stopped working. These lessons became my blueprint for the future, guiding not only my protection of the twins, but also my work helping others. The unexpected alliance. During this period, I discovered someone surprising, Jennifer's estranged brother, who disagreed with her methods. He provided evidence of her illegal actions. He revealed hidden transactions that further implicated Margaret and Andrew. Most importantly, he became an informal ally, helping ensure my daughter's safety. Even in a world filled with betrayal, I learned that allies can appear in unexpected forms. The impact on my daughters. Hope and Grace had begun to show their personalities vividly. Hope, bold and fearless, always exploring, asking questions, showing intelligence beyond her months. Grace, observant and cautious, learning quickly from her surroundings, already aware of danger. I realized the lessons I had learned in surviving betrayal and attempted murder could be passed down, teaching them resilience and vigilance from an early age. Turning pain into power. Every evil act committed against me became a tool for transformation. Betrayal became a lesson in trust. Attempted murder became a testament to survival. The hospital's neglect became a catalyst for advocacy. I transformed from victim to strategist, using knowledge and preparation to protect my daughters and ensure justice was never optional. The next phase. Even with Andrew, Margaret, and Jennifer in prison, I knew life wasn't over. There were layers of corruption, networks of greed, and hidden dangers that still needed exposure. I had to protect my daughters legally and financially. I had to ensure no one could challenge the trust fund or insurance rights. I had to turn my story into a mission, teaching other survivors how to reclaim their lives. This was no longer just about revenge. It was about creating a legacy of resilience, justice, and empowerment. The air in the hospital room felt different that morning. It wasn't just sunlight or the hum of machines, it was power, justice, and a sense of finality. I sat on the edge of the bed, hope in one arm, Grace in the other, feeling the tiny weight of their lives, their innocence, and their futures pressing into mine. For 29 days, I had been trapped in a body that wouldn't obey me, listening to every vile word, every cruel plot. But now I was free. The police had already removed Andrew, Margaret, and Jennifer from the hospital. The courtroom had been merciless, the verdict swift, because the evidence I had secretly gathered, hidden cameras, recordings, documented threats, bank transfers, left no room for doubt. Justice had arrived, not as a whisper, but as a roar. I remembered the first time I truly held my daughters, really held them, not just in dreams or whispers of hope. Hope had a tuft of auburn hair, the same color as mine. Grace had soft hazel eyes, and when she looked at me, I could see the reflection of everything I had fought for. My daughters didn't know it yet, but they had a mother who had survived death, betrayal, and the greed of people who called themselves family. Over the next few weeks, our lives slowly started to stitch themselves together. The house was remodeled, security systems upgraded, and the trust fund I had set up ensured that my daughters would never want for anything. The insurance money, all $500,000, was securely stored for their education and well-being. Andrew and his accomplices were gone, but the scars of their betrayal lingered. I didn't let them. I refused. Every day, I reminded myself of the rage that had fueled my survival. It wasn't just survival. It was reclamation. Friends and family began visiting, those who had truly loved me, those who had never given up hope, and those who understood what it meant to fight against overwhelming odds. My parents held me for hours, weeping tears I couldn't have imagined existed. They had mourned me as dead, had believed my life was stolen, and now they realized their daughter had returned stronger than ever. I started writing a book about my experiences. I called it Alive for My Daughters. Every page screamed the truth. Never underestimate a mother. Never underestimate the will to live. Never underestimate the consequences of greed. The book became an overnight bestseller, and letters poured in from women who had been silenced, cheated, and almost erased. They told me my story gave them courage. They told me my story gave them hope. I realized then that my fight wasn't just for me and my daughters. It was for every woman who had been made to feel powerless. But I didn't stop there. I invested in a foundation that helped mothers who had been betrayed, women whose children had been taken, and those who had survived abusive marriages. I made sure that the law, for once, was an ally, not a distant, silent figure in a hospital room. And slowly, but surely, my daughters grew surrounded by love, strength, and the knowledge that their mother was their fiercest protector. Months passed. Hope and Grace began walking, laughing, exploring the world with wide-eyed wonder. I watched them chase butterflies in the garden, just as I had imagined during those long, silent days in the coma. I smiled through tears, knowing that every nightmare had led to this reality. They were safe, they were mine, and they would never know fear the way I had. One day, as I tucked them into bed, I whispered, "You'll never have to fight the darkness alone. I'll always be here. Always." Their little hands reached for mine, clutching tightly, trusting me without question. It was the first time I truly understood the depth of my own strength. The story of Andrew, Margaret, and Jennifer became a cautionary tale. The media followed the trial, the arrests, and the sentencing with relentless attention. Andrew got 8 years, Margaret 5, and Jennifer 3. Every time I saw their names in print, I felt a strange mix of relief and satisfaction. Not revenge, not cruelty, but justice served. And as for me, I had taken back everything they thought they had stolen: my life, my children, my voice, my future. But the greatest victory wasn't in the money, the court, or the punishments. The greatest victory was this: I had survived death, survived betrayal, and had emerged stronger than anyone could have imagined. Hope curled up next to me, Grace leaning against my shoulder, and I felt a wave of peace unlike anything I had ever known. The life they had tried to steal, the voices that had mocked me, the hands that had plotted against me, all of it had ended. I had endured, I had fought, and I had won. And in that quiet, perfect moment, I understood the ultimate truth. You can try to bury a mother, but what you plant instead grows back stronger, fiercer, unstoppable. As I kissed my daughters goodnight, I whispered, "No one will ever take you from me. Not now. Not ever." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. The nightmare had ended, but the victory, the sweet, righteous victory, was just beginning. I was Samantha Mitchell, a mother, a survivor, a force to be reckoned with. And my daughters, Hope and Grace, would inherit not only my name, but my strength, my courage, and my unbreakable will. The darkness had tried to swallow me, but I had returned, not broken, not bowed, not beaten. Alive, free, victorious. If you were in Samantha's place, how would you have handled the betrayal of those closest to you? Comment below and share your thoughts, because sometimes the fiercest victories come from surviving the impossible. Optional closing YouTube VO notes. Sweet, emotional tone with subtle intensity. Include pauses to let viewers absorb the drama and the triumph. Close with a lingering note of hope, empowerment, and motherly strength.